Alright, hello! We're back! As we're going to continue on for part 2 of The Heart of Ruin, a Fire Emblem D&D 5e game. So, after everybody completed their rest and doing their own watches, luckily for you guys, nothing too eventful happened during the night. The occasional night craven taking flight along the fields looking for anything dead to scrounge upon, and the subtle sounds of either hares or rats moving through the grass, but nothing that deemed necessary of waking your allies as time passes and the sun eventually reappears on the horizon, bringing light over the hills and plains of Frelia. Go ahead and describe everybody's morning sequences as the sun comes up once again.
Annalise, who is awake taking the last watch, everyone can wake up to like the sound of, or not the sound, the smell of breakfast being cooked. So I'm busying myself with just like getting camp ready and undoing tents and all that jazz.
I think that Sebastian would wake up around the same time that Annalise wakes up as well, and probably go off and sit next to a lone tree and pray, wishing to see his sister again.
Vannon puts away Adriana's tent before he comes over to see if Annalise needs help with her stew.
Yeah, gotta get that breakfast stew going.
And packs away the couple of critters that he caught last night for tomorrow's stew.
Annalise kind of just like shakes her head at any offer to help and starts doling out plates and handing them out. Sebastian, are you gonna come eat with the rest of us?
Sebastian is gonna stand up and then say, "Oh, sorry, my morning prayers are of course they're not more important than spending it with my allies."
All right. Of course, you're welcome to the spot here. Is Scram and Kane sleeping in?
Kane would have gotten up earlier and spent the time putting on his armor and all that. Yeah.
Oh, Annalise doesn't have her armor yet on. Oh no, she does. She was taking watch. Never mind.
There's just a low rumbling coming from Scram's tent as he snores.
I like Druidcraft the smell of the stew to like waft over by the tent. Small breeze.
A charming aroma hits your nostrils, waking you from your slumber.
Yeah, after about 2 minutes, it's like you see the tent sort of fall over as he sits bolt upright.
As you emerge from the tent, I'm already holding out like a bowl of stew for you, just like absentmindedly stirring the pot.
Morning, folks.
Good morning. I trust everyone sleeps well. Well, we should have a quick breakfast and carry on. Don't want to dawdle too much. Vannon, I'm hoping your uncle actually has some more detailed maps for us. Perhaps he can help us chart a journey through the pass. Are you all right?
Didn't we grab a map?
We have maps, yes, but as someone who lives by the entranceway, it's always nice to get insight.
That is true. Perhaps there will be perils that aren't apparent on a piece of paper.
Mm-hmm.
Parchment, whatever.
Let's go then. Get a quick breakfast, pack our things. Northeast.
So, with everybody making their peace for the morning, you guys begin to set yourselves to get ready for the journey ahead. As you pack up all your essentials, feed your animals accordingly, and make sure everything hasn't been lost or tampered with from the night's passing, which you're overjoyed to find is the case. As you begin to set your trek out to find the illustrious relative to your feathered friend, Vannon. The travel goes for until about 10 o'clock before you come across one hill, and in the distance you see what looks like a decently sized trough. About 5 or so homes built on farmland on the rolling hills, looking to manage whatever crops necessary they can in this particular climate. The 4 of the houses seem to be identical in size and meet the bare minimum need for most likely a house of probably 3 or a family of 5 at maximum to live in. While in the center of town, there's this large building that looks to be 3 stories tall. On it seems to have a prestigious title to the building itself, which is called the Grand Byzanium of the Pale Bloods. Other than that, looking out to the small trough, it seems to be the large trough, seems to be a charming place. In a very not so charming time.
What sort of crops does it grow?
Yeah, there's crops.
Any
There's corn, though it doesn't seem like it's ready. And what looks to be buried, like fields of not fully grown food yet. It looks like it's still in the process of growing. So there's no visible evidence of what's in there.
Annalise drifts her horse back a little bit so she can ride next to Sebastian, and kind of looks over and says, reminds me of home. You said you grew up on a farm as well, yes?
Yes. This does remind me of my home, not so sweet home.
Not so sweet.
Not so sweet.
I'm sorry to hear that. I didn't know. Was your farm troubled, or?
It was not my farm. It was the farm of my boss.
Oh. I'm sorry. I didn't know.
No,
Here I was hoping to relive happy memories.
No, it's fine. I do not usually tell people of my past. So do not take it personally.
I won't. I understand the sentiment.
Sebastian is he's gonna scope out the area and absorbing everything, and he's probably nobody noticed, but while on this trip, he was making this flower crown. It's a bunch of irises sewn together somehow.
Woven.
And Sebastian then places it on his head and sighs.
What color are these flowers?
They're a very vivid purple, violet.
Okay, sticking with the purple theme.
Mm-hmm.
Annalise would Druidcraft, but she feels pretty embarrassed that she brought up bad memories, and so she kind of just awkwardly, instead of being like the relaxed form that she had going into this farmland, she's now a little bit agitated, a little bit also awkward, as she's wont to do.
Vannon doesn't fly while in sight of the town. He walks alongside And he goes through his centering that Annalise has seen him do before, where he stands stiffly and small pebbles and things rise from the ground and float around his fists. Maybe even a couple of stray sparks. And then he lets it go and takes a deep breath and continues on.
This is nerve-wracking for you, isn't it?
Par for the course this past few weeks.
That it is. It's a lot at once, I know. Still, what a thing to have family when you thought you didn't. I don't know what I could give or would give to be in your position.
If it's true. But let's find out, I suppose.
Yes. Do you have any idea which one of these buildings might house him?
Was I given an indication of the actual address or just the town he's supposed to be in?
Just the area.
And I can't find it in my notes. Did I get a name?
You did. You got his name, which is Peter.
Was there a last name as well?
Pale blood.
Alright, so I will ask the nearest people that I see if where I could find Peter Pale Blood.
So
Are there
as you
people in
guys make your progression towards the town, as you trot down the center of the trough, you notice that there's already a handful of people from each area outside and working. Sebastian, the air of the situation seems all too familiar to you. These people probably being the landowners' employees as they are at hard work in the land itself to make sure they stay fertile. And they probably are up at this before the sun even really came up into the sky, as you reminisce back on your time in a very similar situation as the five of you make your trek through the trough. Eventually, you catch one person that's close enough to one of the fences for you to grab their attention without causing too much of attention to yourselves. Which Vannon?
Excuse me, sir. I don't mean to bother you, but could you please tell me where I could find a Peter Pale Blood?
The elderly man would pick up his head and straighten out his back, looking like he's been through years of hard labor. Would turn to look at you. It's like, you're looking for Master Peter?
I believe so.
I believe he's still in the in his home. I don't think he's left yet. I wouldn't know. I've been working. It ain't my job to keep track of the master.
Would you be able to point out which home this is, please?
Oh, sure. He points at the big one in the center of the town, or the trough.
Thank you, sir.
Can I do just an insight check? I want to see if these workers are downtrodden or if they're just hired hands. Especially given the recent story from Sebastian, I'm just a little more wary of that. 18.
It's hard to tell at first because the circumstances of being able to pick between the two are so similar that it's almost identical. But the way they work and the way that they seem to be dressed And look, they don't seem malnourished.
Malnourished.
Malnourished. Thank you. And they seem to be working with a spry that shows that they have pride in what they do. So, the best you can assume is that they are not like under duress while doing so.
Okay, that's fine.
But after giving you that information, he would tip his straw hat and get back to looking like he's plowing the ground currently over here.
I thank you. Have a good day, sir.
Oh, you too. You too. What do you guys do?
I'll begin walking towards that house.
Yeah.
So as you make your approach, Vannon, the idea of moving closer to this unknown variable that before yesterday seemed to be more of an impossibility begins to rush blood through you as your heart begins to beat faster with every step that you take as you move towards a large building that in a mental stance is dwarfing your anxiety in the situation coming here as you continue to remember your mantras to deal with stress, though the teachings seem to be so far away as you move closer to the past that for a while you've settled on and were in a place that you could be happy with. As the rest of you move in tow with Vannon. Coming to the door, it seems to be a fine wooden door, nothing beyond extravagant, but it's still pretty nice in a peasant stance. Whoever's living here obviously has money, and it shows in the structure of the building, the height that it is to be a 3-story building to begin with. And the very curious name outside seems to indicate someone who deems himself important enough to make names up.
I'll knock on the door.
Madam, before he gets here, do you want us to go in with you or wait outside? I understand this might be a bit of a personal day.
That's fine. You're welcome if he lets us all in.
Eventually.
I wouldn't want to
Go ahead.
Sorry, I wouldn't want to overwhelm the man. I'll stay back slightly. And Scram, it might be best if you did as well.
Yeah, I'll take care of the horses.
Oh, wander off with Scram.
Kane will follow them. He doesn't really think this is his place to interfere with you and your family.
Yeah, Sebastian's gonna do the same.
So Vannon is left there.
Thanks for the support, guys.
Yeah.
Scrum kind of looks back apologetically, like, I didn't want this to happen.
I didn't think everyone would come.
So Vannon, you're left there. Your wings tucked in a way to kind of wrap around you to give you some small comfort as you wait for something to come. As you hear through the door the sound of footsteps followed by a clunk on the ground, reminiscent to someone that's walking with a limp and has a cane to aid them in movement. As the time passes, 10 seconds to 20 to 30 to almost a minute before the door finally creaks open as you look at a elderly man with tan skin, white hair, a very stern and hard look about him. He's dressed in this long, elegant sage robe with gold embroidered going down the center, Underneath that, he seems to have a sage and tan tunic that wraps tightly around his chest with a collared white shirt underneath that one, as he has a black tie wrapped around the collar to hang flipping in the wind right above his chest. His right hand is holding on to what looks like a wooden stick that, unlike the rest of the visage in front of you, seems to be a lot less regal. More so something that someone find on the side of the road. As his leathered glove would just grip onto the stick as he would turn, looking side to side out the door, before eventually falling onto you. What do you want, boy?
I'm looking for the master of the house.
You're speaking to him, he says, looking you in the eye and then following your features down and then back up and looking towards your wings.
Well, my parents were Gregory Heartstone and Regina. They were Sky Knights, and I was told that you may be a relation to them. Is this true?
I am in relation to my brother and sister-in-law. What relation did you say you were?
They're my parents.
He looks at you, trying to deceive if you're pulling his leg. Their son died when they did.
I was told they were killed by some sort of creature in the sky, and I was orphaned and brought to a monastery at a young age. I was told I had no relatives until I was at the mausoleum, it was called, right? Until I was at the mausoleum of the Sky King and saw the gravestones there of them and asked. I was told that they had a brother that lived nearby, so...
As you're in mid-description, he would begin to walk out the door, and he stands little less than a half a foot lower than you as he moves in, getting uncomfortably close outside the door frame, looking you directly in your face. Before subtly backing off, his hard expression seems to melt a little bit as his mouth quivers a bit. It can't be. That's my brother's face, and oh, if you didn't have the exact same eyes. What did you say your name was again, boy?
Fannin.
He looks a little winded at all this as he's like, come, as he turns and begins to walk inside the house.
I look back for the others for a moment before I follow him in.
That seems to have gone well. I look over at Scram as I watch him disappear into the door.
I didn't attack him. So usually happens when people turn up and stand up.
I'm surprised his uncle didn't have wings, though. I guess I didn't realize humans and Lagoose could. That's good, though, I suppose.
Maybe he's adopted.
Maybe?
So as the scene moves in with Vannon, you walk into this building that initially, it feels kind of horrifying as you see all these like upholstered dead animals, most of them being birds and whatnot. As you look around a little bit skeptical before you realize what you're looking at isn't actually upholsteries. They're finely wooden carvings that seems to be done in such a fine manner that almost looks truly lifelike before giving it a second glance. As the man in front of you just would continue to move before heading to one of the chairs and like slumping down in it, heavily looking back at you.
Those are very well done. Who's the artist?
You're looking at him. Vannon. That's what they called you.
Yes.
Well, I guess they could have picked worse names. How have you been, boy? What have you been doing?
I sort of gesture at my outfit. Well, learning to be a monk.
A monk. My nephew, a monk. Is that it?
Well, that and traveling with some companions on a quest to rid the world of demons, but that's more recent.
As you're speaking, he would reach over to a glass bottle that he undoes a glass top to it as he pours a brown liquid into a cup as he holds it out towards you.
I'll accept it. Take a quick sip.
It's a strong whiskey. As he would pour some for himself. So, how old are you now?
I think around 40. Not sure my exact age because the monks didn't know when I was brought there.
We definitely highballed it. You're 38, son. Born in the third summer, on the 18th day. I would know, he says as he would take a hard drink. Your late aunt birthed you. Did you have a response?
No, I'm just taking the information in.
So he kind of just sits there, looking and eyeing you for a moment. Long pause of uncomfortable silence seems to hold up between you two until either you break it or it seems like he's just eating in the moment.
I apologize for dropping in suddenly. We happened to be traveling by this way and thought it would be prudent to stop in to at least find out for sure if the curator was telling the truth.
Yes. He brings his hands up. It's like, it's fine. He puts the glass down and he stands up. It's good to know that my brother's genes is strong in you, son. Are you happy?
I think. I am content for now.
Wait here. He would say as he turns and starts to walk out of the room, leaving you in this awesome
Well-
display of wood craftsmanship.
While he's out of the room, I'm gonna look around for any signs of my parents, like if he has any sort of like portraits or carvings of them, or maybe something that I may have remembered that one of them wore at one point or something, like some sort of keepsake that they would have of theirs.
Go ahead and roll an investigation.
Embrace the night.
Passive is 15 as well, so
As you begin to look around, you don't see anything initially that stands out to you, but you stop as you look at the table and you see this small cylindrical wooden object that seems to be like a small rounded sword. As you see, the hilt goes around it and has this like little hump on the bottom that seems to have like teeth marks in it. As looking at it, it seems to resonate with you. You don't know why, but it seems very familiar.
I'm gonna pick it up.
It's no bigger than like your palm, but as you look at it, it just seems very familiar, as from behind you, almost like shocking you as you were just like engrossed on this object. Looks like you could never give it up, eh?
Was this one of theirs?
Close. It was yours. I made it for you when you were no more than growing your first tooth.
It seems familiar, but I don't remember a lot from back then, obviously.
As you would turn back to look at him, he's holding on to a large, a bit larger than you, shoulder-wise, red and gold robe that on the back seems to have these black wings embroidered in what looks like black feathers, and wrapped around it is this golden sash. It's armless and hangs down to what you would take to be like around your ankles. It's broader than you are, but not taller. This used to be your dad's.
Now that I do recognize.
As he limps over to you now, as he's holding this, you notice he doesn't have the can with him. So he's taking a bit longer to get over, but he moves to you and hands it to you. I think he would like you to have this.
Instinctively, I would have helped steady him with a wing. Seems to be what I do.
Just like your mother. You would say as you do so.
I'll take it from his grasp and sort of just stare at it for a good 20 seconds, 30 seconds. Do you know exactly what happened to them? My master said they never really figured out what killed them, but there had been claw marks and such. One of them even theorized that one of the griffins went feral or something, but I don't really believe that. They blamed it because my mother rode a black one, and maybe it was a sign that the Black One was evil or something, but I don't believe that either.
It's hard to say. When it happened, there was much debate on what it was that truly killed him. Kind of chokes on saying that as he pushes through it. That took their lives. All I know is it was not a storm, no matter what they say at the mausoleum, trying to romanticize every death that happens. Death is death, not something that needs to be... He kind of just shakes that off before he goes into a tangent. Their deaths was not natural. I didn't see the scene, but I know that looking at their bodies, nothing but fire could do those kind of damage.
There was fire as well.
The entire landscape was burned to a singe.
The monks never mentioned that. I wonder why they would keep that detail out.
Well, I don't know where they found you, but where we found them, it was like hell opened up in that particular area. Never even found the Pegasi.
Well, maybe the monks had their reasons for keeping all of the details away. I mean, I suppose I was very young, and the thought of a hellish landscape probably would have made things worse.
He just looks at you for a strong will. Are you gonna stay here?
I was just stopping through, to be honest. My path is to help with these appearing demons and the cause of them. But perhaps I'll come visit again soon when this is over.
I'd like that. He'd say, looking up at you with a meaningful nod and putting a firm hand on your shoulder before repeating once again, I'd like that.
So would I.
Meanwhile, the scene transitions as outside. It's been about a minute to 2 minutes with Vannon entering into the building, as the building itself seems to just be giving off that uneasy silence of no conflict or something like that, which has never boded well for you guys in the last couple of days, as you sit in a small ring around your horses.
So who's going to peek through the window?
Kane shakes his head.
Scram?
We're in danger.
Give him privacy.
That's what I said about Annalise, so you know.
I mean, he has been gone for an awful long amount of time.
It's only been a couple of minutes.
You know, I just worry.
The guy can make some noise if he needs to. He makes all the ground tremor, doesn't he? We'll know if something
Yes,
kicks
he's a capable man. We don't need to watch each other at every moment of every day, I say, kind of giving like one sly glance over to Kane.
Kane ducks his head and avoids her gaze.
Scram laughs.
We'll give it another few minutes, and if he's not out by then we'll go look for him. A few minutes. And we awkwardly wait.
So,
That's what you named your horses. Called Mansally.
Haven't named my horse yet. A little afraid of getting attached, I'll be honest.
So as you guys begin to wait, off camera, it kind of just pans upwards towards the sky as the cloud seems to slowly roll as a figure of a large shadow seems to pass through them. As we're going to use that to take our break.
Oh.
Okay.
Already? We just had
That's,
this.
yeah, like nothing happened.
It's been an hour.
Oh shoot.
Yeah.
I have a timer. So, thank you guys for watching. We're going to be back here at about 15 minutes to 10 as we take our second break. As we come back to see what happens next. So, talk to you guys soon. Peace.